Welcome to Groundwork, a podcast from McLaren Corporation to talk about key material processing topics, from agriculture to mining to material recycling. We'll discuss the best ways to process raw materials that power the world, because if it's not grown, it's mined. Hi, I'm David Hunter, Business Line Director for McLaren Aggregate Systems, and today I've got with me my colleague Rick Madara.
Good day, everybody. My name is Rick Madara. Been with Clanahan for going on 28 years now. Senior Director of Sales for North America, and I'm first to admit I knew nothing about this industry when I started, but I learned a lot along the way and continue to learn. So thanks for joining us today.
You're making me feel like a bit of a baby, Rick. I've been with McLaren just over 4 years and in the industry for a little over 8 years now. Most of my background is probably in sort of export market development. So being with McLaren probably is my second foray into the industry. Our topic today is the post-show pulse on aggregates after AGG1 and bauma. So these are two of the biggest shows that we've attended in 2025. I'm not sure if there's any bigger ones that we will go to this year. But for those that aren't familiar with AGG1, Rick, can you give us a little bit of a background on what AGG1 is?
Sure. Thanks, David. So AGG1 and yes, you're correct, is for us over here in North America. It is our biggest show for 2025. So AGG1 and World of Asphalt kind of join forces, and they actually exhibit or have a trade show 2 out of every 3 years. And the reason they do that is because on that third year is ConAg, ConExpo, that we'll be talking about here later on, and they choose not to have a trade show during that time for good reason.
So is it part of the same group then that runs ConAg?
It's not the same group, but the same people certainly attend. And AGG1 is AGG1 rotates from place to place. This year happened to be in St. Louis, Missouri. They were fantastic hosts for us this year. I will say we attract anywhere from I've seen it as high as 15,000 folks. I think this year attendance was between 11 and 12,000. Which is a little less than what you're going to talk about, I think, with your show. But I will say, it's kind of a more intimate show, and really everyone that's there is usually a customer of ours or has dealing with us in the past. So it is nice, and I will say for all this stuff, and I think I've been to every one since I've started with the company almost 30 years ago. They've always put out a fantastic educational session. I mean, it's one thing to get with your customers, your dealers, and all that good stuff. That's great. But they have a lot of smart people in this industry doing a lot of topics from all different types of areas of what we do. And for the new people coming into this industry, I think it's great that they continue to do that. And I think that theirs is one of the best out there. And I don't know if they do that sort of thing at bauma because it's so big. I don't know if they can, but I'll let you kind of describe what you experienced here. And you're just coming off of this. I think my show was at the end of March. You're fresh off of this. Weren't you just done last week? Is it over?
Just the week before the Easter break. But yeah, bauma is a pretty big show, and it runs a full 7 days. I don't think there's many, if any, other shows that run a full Monday to Sunday. So it's quite a long slog. I think they typically expect over 500,000 visitors. I think the official numbers were over 600,000 visitors this year attended the show. So it was really, really busy. I'd say certainly the first 3 or 4 days we were pretty slammed. Kind of quietened off again towards the weekend, but then at the weekend they open it up to the public as well. So you get a lot of the members of the public coming in, a lot of the machine operators that want to come around and see the different vendors, the different equipment that's on display.
So David, I know at AGG1, some folks just display equipment, some people have models, some people have a little bit of both. And I'm sure bauma is the same way. Did you guys have anything exciting at your booth this year at bauma?
So we had a couple of displays this year. We had some 3D models of full plants, and that generated a lot of interest. But we also debuted our new quick change filter cloth system, and I mean that really generated a lot of interest. So for those that aren't familiar with it, changing a cloth on a filter press typically can take 20 minutes, half an hour. McLaren, in cooperation with Diefenbach, have developed a new filter change, quick change system called literally Quick Change. And you can change a cloth in about 30 seconds. Now we had a bit of a competition on the booth to see how quickly we could do it. For any of you that follow what we do on LinkedIn, you'll probably see a few videos posted of people. I think the record is currently at 11 or 12 seconds. I believe the guys were in Expo Min again this week trying to beat it. I haven't heard whether they did or whether they didn't, but it certainly caught a lot of people's attention at the show.
We're not talking about just one plate you have to change on a plate press, correct? Is that why the amount of time it takes to replace a filter cloth is important?
Well, yeah. I mean, generally, if you've blown out a cloth, it causes more wear on the filter plate itself. So the sooner you can change that, the better. However, to do that, you typically have to shut down your machine. You might need to potentially get a crane, get on top of the machine. It's quite laborious, quite time, it takes a lot of time to do it, time consuming. Whereas with the method that McLaren has developed is literally, you don't need any specialist equipment. You can do it at basically it's not ground level, because a filter press typically isn't at ground level, but you're right alongside the machine. You literally, there's Velcro straps down the side. You undo the Velcro, slide the cloth out. And literally, if you have one teed up ready to go, you slide it straight back in, and that's you're done in literally 30 seconds. It is pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, exciting. Good stuff.
It's really difficult to describe just how vast the show is. I mean, they've an indoor section and an outdoor section. And I think the indoor exhibition is something like 20 halls. And then I think, the outdoor, in terms of space, would probably even dwarf the indoor section as well.
David, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just just to say that number again, because I read the same thing and I thought it was misprinted. It was over 600,000 people attended, and from over 200 countries, I think it said, which is, I don't know if we could host something like that here in North America effectively. I mean, it's just incredible. And is it at the same location every year, or do they do it every year?
So no, bauma takes place every 3 years, and I think probably due to the sheer scale of it, you couldn't do it every year. It would be a real struggle. But so you've obviously, you're right in the center of continent. So it takes place in Munich, in Germany, every 3 years, usually around the start of April, which it was this year. Now I think 3 years ago they moved it off the back of COVID, just to give I think a lot of the industry a little bit more time to recover. But yeah, so you get people coming from all over Europe. Again, whenever you're in continental Europe, a little bit like the continental US, a lot of people will drive. People will get in the car, drive 6, 7, 8 hours, maybe more, to get there. But in saying that, I mean, we have people from North America visit the show. We have people from Latin America, Middle East, as far away as Australia. So I mean, it really truly is a global event. I know it's European based, but as I say, we were talking to different people from all over the world. It's interesting in that sense. You kind of never know who's going to show up from one day to the next, or what you're going to be talking about, because again, I suppose what we'll talk about later on a little bit more in this podcast is the global trends. So what a customer in Latin America is potentially interested in is potentially completely different to what somebody in Europe is currently looking at, when it comes to equipment or any projects they're working on, or if they're in the market for new plant.
Yeah, and I know, I'll say North America is more condensed, and so we can, with you're so spread out, you're able to see all that in one show. And I think it's, the AG1, I think, I don't know, I was out there for 5 days, but the show event, I think, was actually 3 days, which is fine. You couldn't do that at bauma. You need the time, unfortunately, to do it. And I know it's a grind. I don't know if I want to say fortunately or unfortunately. Probably unfortunately. I've been here a long time and never been. I know the company has sponsored and been a part of that show for many, many years. And now with our reach that we have globally, obviously it's well attended. And I know with AG1, we had good attendance. We had a fantastic looking booth, and we had a fantastic location where our booth was. So booth traffic was really, really good, and it was nonstop for almost 3 days. We had several people do some talks, which was nice. It's always to get that.
And was that people from McLanahan doing talks, or do you have guest speakers?
It was all McLennan employees.
Oh, McLanahan.
Yeah. So we had three of us that did some talks on three different, totally different topics, and they were all really well attended. Well, they always let us know if they were good or bad or well received. So we'll see how that goes. But as far as the folks that were there and they asked questions, which was always good. So yeah, and we had a really nice dealer event too. We try to do that at these shows. It's kind of just thank them for what they do for us, and talk about our families and some other stuff that's not necessarily business all the time. And so it's hard to do that sort of thing when you're at a show like bauma, because it's just I don't know what are the show hours. They're pretty much all day long, and until you get back.
Yeah, so it's 9:30 to 6:30 most days, and then Saturday was a little bit earlier, 8:30 to 6:30. Then the Sunday finished a little bit early at 4:30. So yeah, they were long days, but I suppose just thinking back to AG1, and they're probably, given the name as AG1, I'm guessing it's a lot more focused primarily on aggregates.
It is, yeah, it is. That's what it's a much more intimate show, and so the people you're talking to pretty much is condensed into a much smaller, I guess, event, and. I got to be honest, I've never been disappointed with that show. I think sometimes you get these different numbers of attendees, and it could be based on a lot of things. This show moves all the time, and sometimes you're in a more populated area where you get more people in, or sometimes people rather go and be in St. Louis than they want to be in whatever, Nashville or whatever it might be, even though Nashville was one of the highest attended show ever. But I think back coming up,
people coming for the country music record.
I guess so, right? I mean, I guess that's what it is. I know I've always liked Nashville too, but so there's something to be said about that. Location does matter, but it's always been very consistent with their numbers, even on years where the industry was way down. We still get people that really want to support the industry, which I've always been. I've been a fan of that show, and never really let me down since I've been going to them. I did have the chance to go to Hillhead a couple times, and what a different experience that was. But so I think bauma is probably going to be on my bucket list. We'll see if it ever happens, but.
We'll have to get you over next time, Rick. 3 years, get it in the calendar.
I was gonna say I got to get that schedule. Got to get it approved, right? Someone's got to pay for it too, I guess. So we got to get that. But no,
that's the thing. As I mentioned before, we did have customers across from North America. Now, I don't believe they were particularly invited by us or anybody else that I'm aware of, but they were there. So again, there was definitely value in having some of our colleagues across from McLanahan North America. So, maybe put it on the bucket list and we'll get you across next time. You also mentioned at AG1 the dealer event that you hosted. Probably there is a bit of an occasion to mark this year with McLanahan as well, and I believe that was part of that celebration too, was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. That was part of it. Yeah, it's our anniversary for us. We've been business for a long time, and a family-owned company, and I guess I'll say we've been fortunate. I don't want to say I take it for granted because that's not the right word, but we've been fortunate to be under that umbrella and continue to do so. And I'm sure that'll take me to my days that I finally say goodbye to the industry. I still got a little bit to go yet, but you got a lot longer than I got, buddy. So you'll have to hold down the fort for me. But I
don't think either of us will see 290 years. But
no, I don't think so. But it's 190. It's pretty impressive. It really is, and it's funny. Even I've lived in this area my entire life, and I'm actually sitting in our world, we call it our world headquarters, I guess. And I really never knew what they did growing up, and it's amazing what they've accomplished. And I know I try to get out and talk to our schools and talk to the kids, understand what this industry really can bring, what it can really mean to somebody that's thinking about a career path. And I think it's important that we educate our youth of what what mining is all about. And I know with Ag1, there's a lot of those talks out there too about that sort of thing too, which is good. And
again, one of the challenges that I think we see on this side of the pond is attracting young talent into the industry. So it is, you've hit on a very important point there. Is we've got to find ways to engage the younger generation in engineering, and specifically for us in the sort of the mining and aggregate sectors, because we want to attract them into the business. Have you, do you see the same challenges in North America?
It's funny because I'm not supposed to be looking at a cheat sheet, but on my cheat sheet, one of the things was some of the talks, the challenges that people talked about at Ag1, and that was one of them. And one was tariffs, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the other thing was talent, and we're losing. There's this gap of people that are seasoned and been in the industry for 20, 30, 40 years. They're moving on, retiring, whatever they're doing. And you have these young folks coming in into the industry that don't have the experience. So there's this gap that we're seeing. And it's tough to fill that gap. It's tough to get people excited about this industry, but they really knew the impact that mining has on your everyday life. And really, your career path could be it's huge. I mean, if you think about the career path in this industry, there's all kinds of things you could be doing. And so that it did come out as one of the biggest challenges is finding what they say good help or folks with experience, or even getting people to stay on board long enough to get that experience. So it's tough right now.
Yeah, again, the experience bit's the important bit, because you can't teach experience. It's time in the job, or time. Life experience helps a little bit as well. But the longer you're in the industry, the more you learn. A better feel you have for it. So.
Yeah, it is. And this, as great as technology is, and believe me, I don't know how any of us would survive the pandemic without having this technology. I also think it's a little bit of a detriment too, because it's easy. It's easy for us to get on and talk on a like this, as opposed to me getting on an airplane and going to see a piece of equipment or going to talk to a customer face to face. And I just think there is a difference there, face to face stuff, real actual, time.
Yeah, 2D versus 3D does make a difference. I think I certainly believe some of these virtual tools that we have a place, but nothing, in my opinion, replaces face-to-face contact. I think, certainly whenever you want to get out, see a customer face-to-face, see their operation, see what equipment they're currently using, get an idea for what it is they want to achieve. Nothing replaces that face-to-face contact. Now, again, phone, email, video calls, etc., can be used to facilitate that process further. But as I say, no, I've always been a fan of the face-to-face side of the business. And again, I think one of the things that makes what we do in this industry so interesting, not only we're going out to shows. I mean, I have literally traveled the world, and as you mentioned earlier on, you've been across to the UK a few times now to the Hillhead show. Bauma's on your bucket list now as well. Is there anywhere else within this industry you see yourself going or would like to go?
Well, we're big, and I think one of the big things that we support, and we've always supported the industry. We always supported several of these larger trade shows like AG1, some of the C&D recycle shows. We do a lot of those, but the big thing for us that we really and it's hard to gauge. It's hard to gauge their value because there's so many soft. I call them soft advantages when you go to these things. But we really support regional shows, and I don't know if there's a state here in the United States that doesn't have some sort of a state association that supports the aggregate industry. We try to support every one of them. We belong to, I don't know of one we don't belong to. I don't know of one show we don't go to. Now they're small. We got to send one person, a little booth, maybe, or you're just going to attend some talks. But I think it's really important you stay active in those sorts of things and support the industry, because it will come back to pay dividends in the end. And we owe that to our customers and to these associations they're taking their time to support our industry, because they're trying to do the same thing we're doing. They're just trying to bring awareness to what we do. and the value that mining brings to us on our everyday lives, from the things that we use, from the makeup that people put on, from the food we eat to the stuff we're building. It all is really circled around mining. So to me, I think what's some of the exciting things for me is that we or some of these local regional shows that we'll have coming up here throughout 2025 and into next year.
And was there, just casting your mind back to AG1 then, was there any other hot topics for discussion, that what was everybody talking about this time around?
So it's two things. I'll start with the negative first, and I'll talk about the positive. But the negative for really, and you got to think about the timing of AG1. What was the uncertainty of the tariffs? It was right when there was talk of it. Nothing really officially happened. There was just some loose stuff that happened here and there that the administration kind of imposed on everybody, or on certain folks. And I don't know if it was so much. I don't want to say the fear of tariffs. It was just the unknown. It just changed. It was so fluid. It changed every week. And we just didn't really know what to do. We met on it several times a week, as I'm sure you're aware of. And I think the final decision was let's just wait this out and see where it goes, see how it really truly affects us before we do anything drastic. And so far, we're managing, and luckily, how we manufacture things globally is, I think, puts us in a pretty good position. But it's talked about here. If it's not daily, it's several times a week. That's how close it's being monitored right now to see where we go with things. But that was the biggest fear or challenge that were talked about at AG1, which I'm assuming was similar maybe with bauma.
It has been talked about the world over, and as you say, Rick, I think there's rarely been a day gone by where somebody hasn't mentioned it to me in a conversation. And I suppose part of it is, it's big news all over the world. But the other part is, well, they know that McLaren UK Limited, if you like, is part of as a wholly owned subsidiary of McLaren Corporation. So people are saying, well, how does that affect your business now? Most of what we sell out of our UK operation is made locally. So actually the tariffs don't have any effect on us whatsoever. But I suppose then on the other side of it, we do manufacture some equipment that is then re-exported into the US, so that there's a potential downside to that one, depending on what the outcome of the whole discussion is. But I suppose from my point of view, there's very few, if any, manufacturers that don't have to import some raw materials. So I suppose that's probably the biggest risk to our North American business, given that we do manufacture most of that equipment in North America.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. It affects everybody, and you can't avoid it. You cannot avoid it, and we'll adjust and move and evaluate things as we go. That's all we can do. We're not stopping, and I don't think anybody else is either. And it's just it's one of those things we're going to have to deal with. It's not going to go away. I don't think. And to understand what's really affected, what products are really affected, that's for somebody else to worry about. I let them tell me, because it's something you literally have to. It's a book. I don't know if you've seen this. It's a book of different codes and stuff you have to look at to see what's really affected.
Do you see it presenting any opportunities to the business in North America?
Yeah, and I hate to put it that way, because other people are seeing it as such a disadvantage, but I do, because we do a lot of our own stuff here. We don't do a lot of bringing stuff in. We have to do some, and some of our suppliers, our components that we put on our equipment, obviously do stuff or have to bring stuff in from different areas that we'll have to be responsible for tariffs on. But no, I do think, because some of our folks that do sell over here in the States are going to have a real challenge, because all their stuff is manufactured elsewhere, and that's going to really provide a challenge depending on what that amount is. You start putting, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, 35, 45% on top of stuff. Man, that's tough to overcome. That's tough to overcome. And I will say, David, and I don't know about you, we've only, we have a lot of projects quoted. We've only had two projects kind of put on hold to see what the tariffs do. They're going to wait and see sort of thing. So they pulled that capital back for 2025, which you don't like seeing that happen at all. But we only have two out of, hundreds of projects being quoted, I think we're doing okay right now.
Yeah, and I suppose as I say, it is a topic for discussion elsewhere in the world. I don't really see it affecting what we do a lot at this moment in time. Anyway, it's probably more just different geopolitical factors. For example, bauma was in Germany. They recently had an election in Germany, so everybody was scared to make any decisions. I think funding was hard to come across. Now that still seems to be the case in Germany. They have elected a new party, but typically the parties in Germany tend to govern via coalition. The party that finished second, nobody wants to go into coalition with them. So I think there's still a little bit of uncertainty there politically, but I'm sure that they'll overcome those challenges in the not too distant future. I mean, elsewhere, other parts of UK, Ireland, Europe, there's still projects going ahead. We still have a fairly healthy order book going forward into this year and even beyond. Some of the projects are quite bespoke, so they will go into 2026. Again, we see in the likes of the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia in particular, historically, they had been purchasing a lot of materials from overseas for frac sand or frac production. They seem to have a big onus now on producing that material locally. Now they have a massive amount of reserves, so it's just about getting the right equipment from the right suppliers to produce that material in country. So again, I think globally at the moment we're in a pretty good place. Certainly our group is. So
yeah, well, and I hope it stays that way. I hope I think if you look at the I don't want to dwell on the negative stuff, but you look, because there's definitely some positive things that came out, and talking to the folks at the even at the show, and even recently, even with some of the new tariffs that have been instituted, the overall feeling, at least in North America, is generally positive. I would say that the growth is still strong, the activity is still strong. People have a really positive attitude, and to me, it's you can just feel when things get negative. I think that's when things start falling south as far as our industry. When things stay positive, I just think that's all you can ask for, because the people will move forward with projects. They'll continue to buy certain things, and people are very confident as far as our industry goes, and the growth that we're going to see over the next several years. And so I'm excited to hopefully witness all of that, and that they're correct, and it's going to continue to kind of be moving in the right direction.
Is there any other challenges you see in the next year or two ahead, Rick? Or
well, I mean, look, the only thing that I'm seeing, and I think it's going to calm down now, is I've just seen a tremendous amount of competitors coming in that I've never even heard of before. I didn't realize, and I actually first saw this when I was out at Hillhead. A lot of the competitors that we really have out there globally, and competition is good. I think the world deserves competition. We need competition, but man, there's a lot of them out there that are coming into the North America. I don't know.
Keeps us all on our toes.
I guess I don't know if they think that's where everyone's spending money here or what, but it's not. But there's certainly it's certainly something we need to look at, and we will. And it's there's just a lot of
it drives innovation. You've got to be at your best. You've got to you've got to provide a good service. You've got to look after your customers. You've got to think outside the box.
At the end of the day, David, in my mind, we're not order takers. We're basically problem solvers. At this point, and that's all we can do, and help people. I guess have the most efficient operating plant that we can, and the competition will help make sure keep everybody in check, and we all have our advantages and disadvantages and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just about making sure that you put in an efficient system and you support it. And I think that's the other back half of it is the support. Customers, we talked about it already with some of the experience leaving and some of the knowledge base is not out there anymore. Our customers need some help with designing plants and understanding how equipment works and how understanding the maintenance and the operation and all that type of stuff. I think they look for that. And not only if it's not us going to give them the support, it's going to be our dealers. We work through a lot of dealers here in the States on the aggregate side of things. And they're looking for support after something's put in. And deservedly so. So that's the other side of it for us, is having really good dealers that to offer that sort of support.
So, Rick, I think we're kind of at the point where we're ready to wrap things up. So just to recap today's discussion, we've kind of had discussed AGG1, which took place in St. Louis, and it's 2 out of every 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, and we had over 10,000 visitors there, quite focused on the aggregates industry, whereas I was at bauma, which is every 3 years, and had over 600,000 visitors. Not as specific to aggregates, but, much more the construction industry in general. But again, still a very, very interesting show. We talked about some of the challenges that we see in the industry. I suppose one of them is that skills gap, that the young people coming through into the industry.
But I guess the only thing I did want to mention is, just as we close things out, we are, coming up for the rest of the year. We're going to do a lot of regional shows, which we're excited about. We're looking to have a couple of dealer events and some trainings and all that good stuff. But the 2026, what I'm really looking forward to from a trade show aspect is ConAg will be back with us here in Las Vegas, and I've been fortunate enough to see some sneak peeks of some of the equipment and some of the stuff that the McClanahan and their family of companies are going to be displaying there. Really excited about that event. Again, it's a bit of a grind. A lot of people, a lot of stuff to do. Long time in Vegas is, either like it or hate it. I just say I'd much rather be staying at the booth as opposed to be the Vegas nightlife, but that's my age probably showing. But no, we're really looking forward to that for next year. A lot of work has to happen to get that underway. But our marketing folks always nail it. They knock it out of the park every time. So all I got to do is show up and welcome people. So yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, again, we talked about some of the other challenges, such as the tariffs, and it's a kind of just wait and see how things pan out. At the moment, I think it just sounds as though it's all steam ahead until it's not. There's nobody has a crystal ball, can tell what's going to happen going forward. But it's given us all something to talk about, if nothing else.
That's right. That's right. And it'll continue to do that. So like I said, I think we'll just have to watch it closely and react when we need to. But right now, just be patient and take care of our customers. And I think we'll get through all of this. So, but anyway, so I appreciate it, David. Good stuff today, brother. I appreciate the time, and I'll let you round things out.
Likewise, look, thank you very much for taking the time to join me again today, Rick. Good discussion, as you mentioned. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to Groundwork, a McClanahan podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your listening app for more new episodes and follow us on social media for more content. Thanks.
See you guys. Thank you.